Installing Jekyll is a really simple process and one that you do right on your computer. There isn't any server software to install. There are some requirements that you need to know about to make sure that you can successfully install Jekyll. Let's review those briefly. First, you need to have Ruby installed and working. If, like me, you're running macOS 10, it comes with a version of Ruby that is perfectly usable. You also need to be able to install Ruby Gems. Ruby Gems is a packaging system that makes it really simple to install libraries for Ruby. Jekyll comes as a Ruby gem, so you want to make sure that you have Ruby Gems installed so we can install Jekyll. Jekyll is only officially supported on Unix, Linux, and macOS 10. But if you look at the Jekyll documentation, there is some information about installing on Windows. And I'm pretty sure that you can make that happen without too much of a problem. On OS 10, which I'm using here, you want to make sure that you have the command line tools installed. And these are some tools from Apple's Xcode. They allow you to do things like compile code. You can easily check if you have those installed by typing xcode-select-p. And if you get the path to the command line tools, then you have them installed. You can also just go ahead and install them by typing gcc and enter. And if you're running OS 10 Mavericks, it will prompt you to install the tools. And you just want to click install when prompted. And when you're done, you're all set to move forward with installing Jekyll. If you're not running OS 10 Mavericks, if you're running a previous version of OS 10, you will need to go to the Apple App Store on your Mac and download the full Xcode application. And at that point, you'll want to go into Xcode and install the command line tools. Xcode is free from the App Store. It is kind of a big application to download, so you might want to set aside enough time for that to happen. All right, once you have the command line tools installed, you're ready to move forward with installing Jekyll. To install Jekyll, on the command line, we have to install the gem for Jekyll. So I do it with sudo gem install Jekyll. This installs all of Jekyll's dependencies, so you'll automatically get everything you need to run Jekyll. There is quite a bit there, so it might take a few minutes to download and install the dependencies. Once it's complete, you should get a command prompt again without any errors, and then Jekyll is installed. Now, I want to use Markdown in my posts, and I like to use the rdiscount library for Markdown. This is a Ruby implementation of the discount Markdown conversion library. Now, Jekyll comes automatically as part of its dependencies with Cramdown, which is a Markdown library. And it even adds it into the configuration file for you automatically. However, I prefer to use rdiscount, so I want to install that. So I do that using sudo gem install rdiscount. All right, so now we have Jekyll installed, and we just need to configure it. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about how Jekyll works.